want to share that I am heartbroken about love. And if you're even a little bit like me, and I'm guessing that you are, if you're interested in the idea of practicing change, then you have this general sense that love is important. On the other hand, you may have a vague, gnawing suspicion that that might not be true. Why? Because given the state of the world around us, the evidence for love doesn't exactly bear out. If love were so potent, what are we to believe? That the people around us are just not loving? We don't tend to think that about the people that we like and we feel good about, and especially the ones that make us feel good. We get that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling in our belly or sometimes other places when we like someone. But when it comes to those others, when we don't actually get those people, we can think they're not loving. And then we don't have to actually give them love. So that doesn't make us loving, does it? It's all very confusing. The problem is that the business of changing the world requires more of us than that. So one day I got interested in what is it that happened to my sense of love, or in the famous words of Tina Turner, what's love got to do with it? When I was around 8 years old, we left the place that I considered the golden years of my youth. It was Lefrak City, right there in Queens, New York. It was kind of a United Nations of peoples from different countries, different ethnicities. They spoke different languages and they practiced different religions. We were Chinese and Moroccan, South Asian, Black, Latino, white, and everything in between. We were really different, and it was fantastic. But love called my dad, so off we went to Flatbush, Brooklyn, which was an entirely different world from the one that I had grown up in. We came from across the diaspora, but racially speaking, we were black, so we were supposed to be the same, but I felt alone. I was a latchkey kid. On most evenings, no one was home until at least 6:30, but we had a very kind doorman. He was an older man. I remember he had graying hair and kind eyes, and he always had a ready smile. He was helpful, carrying bags, opening the elevator for me when I needed to go to the laundry in the basement. One day, I needed to do that, and so the doorman rode down in the elevator with me, as he often did, and so I didn't think anything of it. Our laundry room was busy, and so he led me to the other side so we could see if that one was free. On the way back, we abruptly turned into a room that was dimly lit with a naked bulb over a single mattress. The kind doorman pulled my hand that I don't even remember him taking in his and put it in places that it never should have known. He said that we were friends. He told me that he loved me. And because of this love, I should never ever share that secret place. I left confused and conflicted. But it was love, and everyone wanted that, right? So I grew up in my adult years with the whole idea of love being one that felt muddy, fraught, full of suspicion. I had that experience and other ones that were domination, control, ego, and aggression passed off as love. You can understand why I took this into my adult years. By, let's say, the year 2000, I was a committed activist, but it was starting to take its toll because we were driving with anger, we were burning out, and our path was unsustainable. So I started to think to myself, what would happen if the movements that we were a part of were grounded in stillness? And what would that mean for me? Because at this point, I looked across the divide, on the one hand at the people with a Bible in their hand and a shotgun in the other, the ones that wanted to make America great again, knowing that that America never included me. And on the other hand, on the other divide, I looked at the people with their yoga mats and their meditation cushions, oming down their bottled water. Professing love for all of humanity, but they couldn't even look me and my brothers in the eye. But I looked into this meditation, I even got my own cushion, and eventually I wrote a book about this idea. Well, fast forward, and shortly after that, I read another book, and it was called All About Love by Bell Hooks. It explored the idea of the importance of love in our society. And since in my meditation practice I had already discovered that you didn't actually have to like people in order to love them, something that Bell said stuck with me. She said, the fact that our society does not have a shared meaning of love is what confuses us and causes us to have the act of actually loving be so mystifying. So I took that with me, realizing that from the experiences that I had that when I was a child, that my sense of love, my heart had been broken and my sense of love had been broken. And Bell's work deeply affected me, so I looked further into it. What I discovered is that we needed a kind of practice that would be immediately graspable for more people. Meditation was powerful, but not enough people were actually moving to that practice. So in my search for something that everyone could actually access immediately, because it is the Twitter age after all, I found this practice first passed to me by Wendy Palmer, who's a powerful teacher of embodiment. I've been tweaking it for about 15 years, so I'd like to share it with you. Can we do that? Okay. So if we have a moment and everyone will stand up and find a partner. So you're going to stand side by side with your partner, not facing them, but side by side. And I'd like you to listen to these instructions. What you're going to do is you're going to place your hand on the side of your partner's shoulder, not on the top, but on the side. So I'd like you to first get permission from each other to be in contact. Okay, great, right on the side. So those of you that have the short hair are going to apply pressure first. So place your hand on the side of your partner and begin with steady, even pressure, slow and even. You're going to keep giving pressure until your partner has had enough, and you know when you've had enough because you'll feel on your edge and a little bit out of control. When your partner nods their head, they've had enough. So go ahead and apply pressure. And when they nod their head, what I want you to do is to simply keep the pressure there. Don't add any and don't take any away. Okay? So those of you receiving the pressure, your job is to simply notice what your experience is. What's happening for you at this moment? What's going on in your jaw, your belly? How are your buttocks, your legs? What about the quality of the room and the temperature? Notice if anything has changed for you. When you've had enough information, I'd like you to nod your head again and release the pressure. Now, those of you that were pushing, your job is just to remember what your experience was like when you applied pressure to the person. Now, what we're going to do is, for the sake of time, we'll do this again. the person is going to apply pressure again, I'm going to give you some instructions that I'd like you to follow along. So short hair people, go ahead and place your hand on the side of the person's shoulder. Just one person is placing at a time. There you go. And begin to apply steady, even pressure. Keep going steady and even until your partner has had enough, indicating that by nodding your head. And now that you've had enough, what I want you to do is hear this. Those of you receiving the pressure, begin by feeling your feet, rooting into the earth, and feeling your seat. Bring your pelvis even with the floor. Locate yourself in the room. On an out-breath, extend your crown to the sky and lift your heels up off the floor and bring your feet directly underneath you if they're not already. On an in-breath, draw your shoulders up, and on an out-breath, roll them out again. Feel the full expanse of your chest open and exposed in your heart space. In your length, you feel a sense of inherent dignity. What inherent means is that it cannot be given to you, therefore it cannot be taken away. In your width, I want you to feel your sense of relationship by including the space and then the person next to you on either side. Now take awareness of your front body and your back body all the way through. Eyes on the horizon, notice the generations in front of you and feel your ancestors behind. With a strong back and soft belly, take up the space that is yours in your depth. Finally, I want you to drop your attention and your center of gravity down into your belly. Connect to what matters. You don't have to save the world, just connect to what matters to you. From that place, as you're willing, invite a little bit more pressure and notice how that feels. Those of you offering the pressure, notice what that feels like for you. And as you're ready, release. Turn, thank your partner. And while you're still standing, I just want to take a little bit of feedback. Let me know how that was for you in 1 or 2 words, just a few words. Grounding, connecting, encompassing, expansive. What was the first time like? Off balance. Big voices. Challenging. Resisting. And vulnerable. So please take your seats. So what I'd like you to take notice of is how much changed out there when you changed your in here. Often we have this sense that everything that we have to do in order to change the world, in order to disrupt the systems that would have us not love each other across lines of difference and even across lines of sameness, has to do with what we have to do out there. But these practices have the capacity to disrupt the disconnect that lives inside of us. And I promise you that no matter how much you want to believe in the power of love, as long as that separation, that disconnect lives inside of you, you will continue to uphold structures of division and separation unconsciously, or you'll simply learn to ignore them. So it turns out that justice is actually a practice. It can be measured, equity can be measured, fairness, stability, connection can be felt. So for you understand when I say that I don't want your love, I want justice. I want justice for the women who have born and raised children throughout time in our society, and their labor has gone unpaid and underappreciated. And this has been the single hindrance of having a just society. I want justice for the women that choose to not bear children and instead bring their creative life force to the workplace, to the artistic sphere, to problem solving the most intractable challenges of our world. I want them to have equal pay for their equal work and not have to choose between opportunity and their dignity. I don't want your love. I want justice for the people that live in poverty. I want you to recognize that that is an indication of our society's impoverished imagination, but that the people themselves are storehouses of richness, of resilience, love, and many other qualities that we need in our society. I don't want your love. I want justice for the people of different ethnicities, cultures, and religions that have always been the lifeblood of this nation and the engines of our success. I want treaties restored. I want undocumented people to be recognized for the fact that the borders crossed them 160 years ago. I want life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to extend equally to all peoples so that Muslims can eat, pray, love, and dress as they choose. I don't want your love. I want justice for the millions of Black people that are compelled to live in a heightened sense of danger, the threat to our lives, which do matter, being very real. I want reparations for the $1 trillion of unpaid labor over 400 years, and is the major underpinning of the economic dominance of this nation. I don't need your love, but I must have justice for the girl and boy children that have the divine right to grow up with their innocence intact, to never ever have to believe that an offer of love is something that they should be suspect of. I want an end to the patriarchy that tells girls to be careful and boys to be men, and in the process undermines our unabashed commitment to love as something that inspires awe, brings us into connection, and tethers our heart to justice for all. Most of all, I want justice for you and you and you, that you may find those spaces inside of you that are unacknowledged, unhealed, unloved, and have a practice in which you deepen and reconnect those places. So you can see why I have been heartbroken about love. Does that mean that we should give up on it? No. But what I'm betting is that when we have the opportunity, when we are all empowered to live in a just society, when you have the commitment to deepen a practice in which you reconnect those parts of yourself that you left behind, when you practice centering into presence as many times as you possibly can, over and over again, when you choose not just to love but to be you, then and only then, you may just have room to love me too. Thank you so much.